Let me come to you first, though, because you're back at your old venue, if you like. Any nerves for you today, given what your good friend Martin Canning's going to have to go through?
Yeah, no, listen, I'm desperate for Hamilton to win the game. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I'm not.
No, you don't need to.
Completely biased in Hamilton's in their corner. So
we saw that on Thursday.
Yeah, we did, Michael. So, but yeah, I'm just really hoping for their sake and everybody connected with the club, they do a job today.
Do you fancy your old club's chances? You were there on Thursday, weren't you, Billy, watching first leg?
Surprisingly, not be surprised now that I'm going to disagree with Alex. So, no, listen, I do. I've got a sneaky feeling. I think they showed enough, particularly second half the other night, to get some confidence. And listen, it'll be a tight game, but I'm hoping that they can come through.
Good. Good morning, good afternoon. Is that
well,
what normally you say?
Darryl, you normally should say that at the start. And you're looking very smart last game.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I thought a wee mark of respect.
We don't all like to look like we've just come off the farm.
Well, no. Yeah,
drag through the bushes.
Great. Yep.
Good.
Have you got any questions or any comments coming in?
I was about to ask you about the game today, but you were writing in the tie. You don't miss a beat, do you?
Yeah, do you know what?
Is that a wee pocket handkerchief in there?
It's an interesting. Yeah, no, it's not.
Is it
so
maybe
onto the shirt,
called
Darryl.
piping? Is it?
Yeah, let's talk about the game. Let's talk about football. That's what we're here for.
That's what you're good at.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? The game today, because Hamilton. I mean, Michael doubted Hamilton, didn't he, a couple of weeks ago, saying that Inverness were favourites.
You're not pulling Michael up again,
even though they were bottom of the league going into the last game.
You do love to misconstrue things, don't you?
Well, you did say that, Michael.
No, I didn't say that. You said it.
Are you questioning Hamilton's mentality? Do you think their mentality is something in question?
Do you want me to tell you what I did say?
Well, go on.
I said that prior to the last game, you don't need to do funny eyes to the camera, Chris. Prior to the last game, because of the results, the pressure I felt was more on Hamilton because Inverness had got a very good result.
And they proved you wrong there.
Well,
so are you still questioning their mentality today, Michael?
Why do you try to misconstrue it?
Well, look,
all that aside, because you're talking nonsense, and looking at this game here, I think that it's a very evenly poised game. I think both sides are going to be, confident that they can take the game and get the place in the Premiership. But I've just got a sneaky suspicion, like Billy, that Dundee United are going to see this game through. They
managed to, at Falkirk, on the plastic pitch, turn it around there in the second leg and come back even from a goal down. Can they do it again here?
Well, they did.
Dundee United.
It was almost forced upon them at Falkirk because Mickelson was injured and he was sticking with it forward, down in two. And it wasn't working. They were getting beat 1-0. They looked as if they were going to fall out of the playoffs. Mickelson got injured, had to go off, and he had to change his shape to 4-3-3. And they went on and won the game.
Not sure he got injured though. I mean, he did make a lot of the injury situation.
With the groin situation.
McKinnon, and then they were all fit for the game.
And I think
Darryl,
Tony Andrew is the tough one. Where his best position is he playing behind? Does he play wide? Can he affect the game?
So you change the formation, would you, to get him in to play behind?
He's an enigma at the minute. Tony Andrew is an enigma. He doesn't know where to play him. To get the best out of him.
They have to get the ball to him, in fairness, though. I think Kawati, he's been...
Well, he's finished.
Yeah, he's finished. Do you know what? I don't know what these lads think. In a funny sort of way, I feel sorry for him. Because everybody makes mistakes, Darryl, even yourself.
Chris, we all feel sorry for him.
He's made a mistake, and he's going to be... set aside now. Does everybody deserve a chance, Darren?
If you make a mistake, you get pulled up for it in our team.
But there's two things here. There's making mistakes in the park, which he made many of them, and the game at the second leg at Falkirk, then at Tannadice as well. That can happen. But the way he reacted going off the park, I don't think. So even putting that aside, his performances didn't justify him to be playing the game. Then he's got the reaction on top of that. It's completely understandable what Ray McKinnon has done.
Moments of red mist, I think, haven't we?
Yeah, but I think the reaction's the worst thing because I think he undermined the manager.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing. And if Ray plays him today, then
the rest of the team
start to question then where's the boundaries.
There was talk that he left actually before the game had finished from the stadium the other night, so that would finish it off.
I don't think his reaction's enough to get him effectively sacked at the club.
Right.
If Ray McKinnon thought he was going to be a player for them next year, he would have done it different.
But I think, like,
would you have played him in this game though?
No, I wouldn't have. But what I'm saying is, I don't necessarily mean it to be the end of his career.
Yes.
I think the fact that he probably doesn't fancy him. That's just the way it is.
He wasn't having a great game anyway. Let's take a few questions. There's one in from Adam Donachie who's asking, Alex, will you ever come back to Hamilton?
He's here now.
Yeah, I'm here right now.
I think maybe a slight team in a different capacity. I'm guessing he means.
No, listen, Martin Canning's the manager, and I think Martin will be here, hopefully in the Premier League, and we'll see how they got on.
So was that a yes or no, Alec?
That was an avoidance of it. That's what
he's getting good at this.
Quite clear.
I'm just clearing that up, that's fine.
Here's one from Paul Thompson. If Dundee United go up, how much of a rebuilding job is needed for them to stay up, do you think, next season, Billy?
I think a lot. I mean, I thought, listen, that they'll probably get 3 or 4 out of contract, 2 or 3 who'll probably go. So, you know, I think that the level from the Championship up to the Premiership is one that they're going to have to bridge. And from what I've seen recently, I think they're probably going to need, you know, a fair few players.
Yeah, and they've signed a couple, obviously, but we don't know about the financial position, do we, really?
Part of the problem is because these playoff games go on a little bit more for them, other clubs in the same kind of wage bracket that they could offer are making offers just now and are trying to sign players up. So they will miss out on potentially a few targets. Yes, they've got James Keatons and they've got Billy King in, but other ones that Ray McKinnon may fancy may have gone to maybe Motherwell or Partick Thistle or somewhere like that. Someone who can pay similar money. So that's where it's tough.
So somebody that you know that's got
No, I'm just putting the club in similar kind of size and financial bracket, that's all.
Okay, we'll come to the Scottish Cup final in just a second. There's a question from Paul Diamond. Do you think Derek McInnes will move on to English football? And if so, would Aberdeen go for Tommy Wright to replace him?
Well, you can understand why they would make that, that sort of assessment that Tommy Wright would be in the frame. I think if the Sunderland job does come up, then it would be an attractive one for Derek McInnes. I would think that, you know, Sunderland getting relegated, they're in a position where obviously they need to change things about, and I'm sure Derek as a manager would look at that and say that he's capable of getting progress back to the club, which is what you want as a manager. Whether the job comes up or not, you know, we'll have to wait and see.
Does anyone think that maybe yesterday was his last game for Aberdeen, Derek McInnes, that cup final? Any thoughts on that, or do you think we'll see him again in Scotland next season?
What's tough about it is the fact that he's talking about the breakup of his side.
Yeah.
He spoke about potentially losing 4 or 5 players from that team yesterday, which may then put into doubt what he can do with the players he can come in. Derek, I think, brought in 7 players last summer, and the only one to play regular, I think, is Joe Lewis.
Yeah, but Craigs, if you look at for
so
me,
he knows how tough it is.
If you look, it's obviously difficult to continue to get the progress and the success at Aberdeen. But if you look at Ryan Jack leaving, for me, Greg Tansey is a very good replacement, potentially better, in my opinion. You talk about potentially Sean Maloney going to Aberdeen. Another very good player. The young lad Wright that came on and scored a hat-trick. If McGinn, is going to go, so there is the potential for the continuation of success at Aberdeen.
Is that a risk?
Yes, it is, and that's obviously
potential.
something that Derek McInnes, I'm sure if he was offered a job of the size of Sunderland, these are the judgments that he's got to make.
If he gets offered it, I think he'll take it. I do, but
is it the right time to leave Aberdeen?
I think he will want guarantees to keep the likes of Johnny Hayes, won't he? And if he feels that
just signed a new contract.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if they get a big bid in, there's talk of going to Cardiff. So, then he'll want to have a chance next season. So he can't lose his key players. But if he gets offered the job, he will take it. But I'm cautious about Sunderland. I'm not so sure it's a great job.
The Championship would be a lot more attractive from the Scottish
100%. Listen, the size.
You were speaking earlier about finances and things.
Yeah. That's the thing. The size of Sunderland.
Why do you think Sunderland wouldn't be a good job?
Because David Moyes left for a reason. I don't think he was given the funds that he thought he needs to get back up. I don't think when you look what's happened to Aston Villa, they spent I think £80 million in the Championship. It's not an easy league to get out of. So therefore, if you don't have the players, and he wants to bring players in, and you don't have the funds, it's a tough job. And whether we like it or not, Derek McInnes at Bristol City had a tough time. Yeah. If he goes down again and don't want to use the word fails again, then his reputation's intact.
The problem we've got is that these opportunities don't come along too often. So if that is something that he gets offered, then he's got a real decision to make. Alex, you've just worked down there. Would that be a good move, do you think?
I agree with Chris. I think if Derek gets offered the job, I think he'll take it. I think he'll look at it as a great opportunity for himself. I think, like Chris says as well, I think it is a difficult job though, because like you say, an experienced manager like David Moyes has chose to leave, and I think the amount of money that some of the players are getting paid down there for the level they're going to be operating at then becomes part of the problem, and the fact is you can't move some of these lads on, so you've got them there, you need to try and get the best out of them, and that can prove to be difficult at times.
Okay, there's a question in from Matthew Quinn. Does Chris think anyone is capable of catching Aberdeen for second next season?
Well, we'll have to wait, Daryl, won't we, for the summer and see what Pedro does in the transfer market. Pardon?
You said a lot about Pedro in recent times.
Have I, Daryl?
Yeah, I think you have.
Well, I've just been responding. I've just been responding, Daryl, to questions which you've asked me, and that's my job.
One of the ones I can ask you.
You're very good at your job, but no, it's a big side. I didn't mean that, Daryl.
Well done.
But it depends on the recruitment in the summer, Daryl.
Okay, and before we go any further, we should also say that well done to Celtic yesterday. Yeah. Invincible season completed, job done, and in real style, I guess. Last minute goal, was it a fitting way to cap it all off?
Of course it was, and Alec was just talking there about, getting the best out of players, and it can be a difficult thing when they're on wages and you can't move them on. Brendan Rodgers has done that at Celtic, and that to me is the biggest compliment. That this is a side predominantly which was a lot of questions being asked of them last year. He's come in and added a couple of real quality players, and he's moved them on to a different level. Brendan Rodgers has been a fantastic acquisition for Celtic, and I think it's an incredible achievement, and I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be looking at achieving that again next year.
It was a really good game yesterday, wasn't it, Billy?
Yeah.
Great advert.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was fitting for the final. Sometimes they're not always the spectacle that you want, but it was a terrific game, great drama at the end, and probably typical of Celtic season.
Yeah, Stephen, did you enjoy it?
You just knew it was coming. The deeper Aberdeen got, the tougher it became. You just thought Celtic get too much of the ball. There's too many players on the side who can hurt Aberdeen. So if Aberdeen snuffed out Roberts, you knew Sinclair was going to do something to Rogic. So listen, to the best team by country mile. But put it into perspective, that Scott Sinclair's wage alone is probably more than a lot of clubs.
Yeah.
Full playing budget.
Yeah.
So they should be winning games. They should be doing it with a little bit of style.
More than a lot of clubs playing budget.
Yeah.
I think that's actually
so
what
Scott
Derek
Sinclair's
McInnes
wage could be
alluded to
between
as well
30 and
after the
40
game.
grand a week. And most clubs, I would say, bottom six wouldn't even be equivalent of 30.
Aberdeen
30
put up
grand.
one heck of a fight yesterday, though, didn't they, Alex?
I thought Aberdeen
Everything.
were great. I thought they did really, really well. The only disappointment from their point of view was I thought they ran out of steam. I thought they put that much into the game that in that last 20 minutes, as Stephen says, once they started to sit deeper and deeper and Celtic started peppering them with the ball, I thought it was only a matter of time, and Celtic done what they've done all season and got the goal.
Mark Greeny, he's asking, Chris, can Celtic be invincibles again next year? And also, can they make progress in the Champions League? Will then go on another good run there, do you think?
Can they be invincibles next year? No. Champions League is important. The qualifiers come really quickly, don't they? So that'll be interesting, because I think the expectation level will have risen amongst the support. Again, I think it's a big summer in the transfer market for Brendan Rodgers. Be interesting to see who he recruits.
Can it be done again?
Yes, of course it can.
Will it be done again?
Odds are it won't be, but there's no reason why it can't.
Do you think it could be done next season?
Well, I've just said
Yes
I think
or
it
no,
can.
I mean-
Okay, next season.
I've just said yes, I think
Alright,
it
so
can.
next
But
season.
odds
Okay.
are I don't think it will be done.
I thought you were going to go in a little bit more depth than that.
No.
Stay on that
It's a
fence.
simple
Yeah.
yes or no.
Okay.
No, the fence was yes or no, and I've said yes, Chris.
Okay.
Is that difficult?
Anyone else going to get off the middle of the point of the edge of the fence?
I wouldn't be surprised. If they'd done it again, it
That's well and truly the
wouldn't be
fence.
surprised. With the quality they have, no, Rangers aren't going to get better. Aberdeen, that's as good as Aberdeen can get, I think. We spoke last season about Aberdeen reaching the glass ceiling last year, and Derek's pushed the boundary again. It's going to be a huge ask for them to do that.
And there will be rotation next season, of course, if Celtic go well in the Champions League. But the bottom line is, this season we saw them make changes in games, and they still won them.
Yeah, I think because of how strong they are in the Premier League, they can do that. But I don't think they'll go undefeated next year. I think to do that in 2 consecutive seasons is it's unheard of, really.
I'd agree with that. And the biggest thing about Brendan as well, okay, he brought players in, but also development, the likes of McGregor. I think he's come on a lot. Armstrong has come on, a lot, and that's why they've got strength and depth. If Aberdeen had a weakness yesterday, they ran out of steam. You looked at their bench; their substitutions didn't really make much of an impact. They weren't like for like, so that's where you feel a
That's
bit
my
for
one
Derek
criticism
McInnes.
of Derek McInnes was that he started with Stockley, and Stockley was the man that should have come on later in the game as their target man to get them up the park as an out ball. He made the change and had Stockley starting, and Rooney came on, and Rooney's not that type of player. Harsh, but that's the fine margins that I think could have made a difference.
But it did work, yeah.
Well, they were work because we're one each, and
Well,
that's
no, but Stockley wasn't. But
Stockley
Stockley wasn't central to the tactics of the first half. There was Stockley didn't make any difference in respect.
I
of
think
the way he played.
I think that is completely wrong.
He didn't.
Michael.
What
I think
did he do?
he took Tierney out for a start. But no, he was a threat. And the last game we covered at Aberdeen, he was a physical presence. He roughed
I'm not talking
up.
about the last game.
Well, okay,
Talking
but
about the cup
he
final.
had an impact yesterday
Well,
in terms
and
of
he
his
elbowed
physical.
Tierney.
And what happened
So he elbowed Tierney.
What happened when Rooney came on? They couldn't get up the pitch.
Yes,
and
that's exactly what I'm saying, Chris.
So,
With Stockley,
so Celtic may have been 3-0 up at half time then if the fact they couldn't get up the
but I'm
pitch and we
telling
were
you,
playing with Rooney.
But
So it
no,
can't
but
work that
Stockley
way
was
round.
not
It did work.
central to them getting up the park.
Really?
They played a high pressing game where they went 3v3 at the top end of the
But
park.
he was still
Stockley
an
had no
outball.
impact in that.
Guys, we're going to have to finish in a second. The music's on.
I
We're
don't
going
know
to go
what
on
game you
air
were
again.
watching
I think
there,
since we're going to have to. But on the subject of Stockley, does
Maybe
anyone
you
have any
were,
strong
having a wee
thoughts
lunch.
on what happened between him and Tierney yesterday? And obviously Tierney, we hope he gets well very soon, because a game against England to come in a couple of weeks, we could do with him in that game. You probably think the absolute opposite there. But I mean, it's a terrible injury. Does anyone think it should have been a red card?
I didn't, to be honest, I'm going to be totally honest, Errol. I was watching it on television, I flicked over both sides. I didn't see enough camera angles, so it's hard to level it that that's what he actually... it was on purpose. I didn't think his elbow was high and he threw it, but only he really knows.
Yeah.
Get these experts, ask their opinion,
His
Darryl.
body swiveled round.
Chris is comfortable on the fence.
I am on the fence with that.
I guess in the end of the day, it's still serious, dangerous play, whether he meant it or not.
So you think red?
But he doesn't
on
throw
the basis
elbow.
of that?
Yeah, but
I mean, you're allowed to turn around.
no, of course you are. But
he's done damage,
As long as there's no deviation of elbow twist.
No, of course, but we have players get sent off for making dangerous
He's
tackles.
very
and they might not mean it.
fortunate that it wasn't a red card, but I don't think it was intentional. I think it was more clumsy. I think he's a clumsy player.
Okay. Nothing more to add there. Fine, there's just a point in from Stuart Foran who says, Derek Ray, last game today, farewell.
Yeah.
Farewell indeed. But
Very
just to
sad.
finish,
I think yeah, we've seen Derek off, haven't we, to be honest?
You
lot
have,
of us.
you have. But just before we finish, we can make a little announcement because we've got a new member of the team next season. Our lead commentator next season is going to be Rory Hamilton to come in. So all the best to Derek Ray. We will miss him. Welcome along, Rory Hamilton. On that note, I think we can say goodbye to everybody on Facebook. We'll see you again in not very long, 2:15.
Bye-bye, Derek.
Bye, Derek. Bye, everybody.